All right, good, Chris, thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Orangetown Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Let's start by having everyone else introduce themselves,
Tom
please.
Tarenti.
Former acting chairman Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell, not acting.
Judy Smith, also not acting.
Jack Demerjen, zoning administrator.
Be careful. You can have it. Yeah. All right, well, we have a brief agenda of getting back together tonight. It seems like forever since we've had a meeting with all of us here. Well, we canceled a couple of meetings for a lack of an
But even at the
agenda.
last meeting that you chaired, we were missing two
Three,
members.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
So let's start with the, item number one, review of the minutes from the August 15, 2023 meeting. They were in our small package for this evening.
Oh, of course.
I read them but wasn't here, so I can't comment. Yeah.
I have no comment.
Just one small comment that the second page, right before adjournment, second line should be Commissioner Cornell.
Okay.
That's it.
All right,
There's only three of us.
I'll move
As
that,
long as you're not the chairman. yeah.
right, I'll move that we approve, I'll move that we approve the minutes from the August 15th as amended.
Second.
okay, we had a motion to approve, it's been seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and
Oh, abstain.
two abstentions. Okay. Jack, anything to tell us about under old business?
Nothing for old business. I have some stuff for my report.
Okay.
If anyone has anything for me, I'm all ears. Well, sorry, Chris. It's been so long.
Old business, anybody want to bring something up? Okay. How about under new business?
So this might more appropriately be a PSA rather than new business. I don't know if anyone's been following the case where someone built a house on a lot in Fairfield. Where someone had, filed a false fraudulent deed transfer on the land records. So anyway, turns out in Orange, on the website, you don't even have to go to the town clerk. You can opt for a notice if someone files on your property. And you'll get it can't keep somebody from filing on your property, but at least you'll know when it happens. So you can cut off a problem sooner rather than later.
I'm not
So-
sure I understand.
So if something is filed against you, you get automatic notification?
Yep. So if,
So
great.
if somebody records an
Anything.
attachment, a judgment lien, or,
or yeah, anything.
So files anything on the
Or,
land
yeah,
records
yeah.
for your property, I believe.
But
Yeah.
specifically if, somebody, tries to scam you and
Right.
files a deed transfer, or takes out a mortgage in your name, you'll know about it quickly, instead
Wow.
of when the bills arrive.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
in case you
to know.
own your home
And-
and care.
I believe that title insurance would cover that, right? If you were the homeowner and someone put a false deed, that's
Yeah.
the whole point of the title
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah.
Or one of the aspects of it
Yeah.
anyhow, yeah.
I wasn't aware of that, though, but that's.
I think it does, but the house was built by the time the guy knew.
It's unbelievable, yeah, I
it's-
know.
It is a crazy
So
story.
he didn't live in,
No, he did not live in the area.
He was in Florida or
and-
something, or
And someone, somehow was notified that someone
Long
built.
Long Island,
Built a house on his property.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
too close to comfort.
All right, thank you.
So sorry, wasn't new business.
No,
All
that's-
right. Anything else under new business? All right, Jack, you have a report for us?
Yeah, sure. Just a couple updates on some things. I know I'd emailed everyone about the commissioner training. That Scrog was kind enough to work with Yukon Clear to put that together for us.
October 12th?
October 12th from 4 to 8 p.m. You could be there in person or register online. They will do 4 hours consecutively, but if you have been to our we had 2 training sessions here. If you attended both of those or one of them, that hour or 2 hours still counts. So you don't have to
We
stay
need
for the
4.
full 8 hours. You need 4 in total.
Yeah.
One of those hours pertaining to affordable housing, which was, if you attended our first meeting, was David Fink, who came and spoke with us.
I registered
Mm-hmm.
on, online, but didn't get a confirmation. I don't know if anybody else tried to.
I can send out and see if there is a confirmation. They said that they have had a good number of people registering already, so I think maybe when we get a little closer to that date, which I guess it is only in a week and a half.
Yeah.
Um,
And we're
They
on
will.
our own for joining the conversation? I mean,
Absolutely,
We're not
yeah.
gonna.
No, it's,
assemble.
I think it's more of a lecture kind of thing. I don't know how interactive it will be with people I'm sure it will be.
Or is it,
It could be both, online
Either,
or if you
either.
want to go to North Haven, to Scroggs Building.
But they're limiting it, in-person attendance to 45.
Yeah, I
Right,
read
yes.
that on the
So
brochure.
I don't think they're gonna quite get up there, but who knows if you'd rather do it remotely. They will also be recording these sessions, so if you are unable to do it exactly on the 12th from 4 to 8, you can get access. You would just have to reach out to Scrog, tell them who you are, and request that they permit you to view that recording.
Okay.
So just a reminder for that. I know I also sent an email about this, but our meeting of next month is right now scheduled for Wednesday, November 8th. That was because Tuesday, the 7th, is Election Day. Or, I'm sorry, Election Day. And there's a conflict because the 8th is the second Wednesday of that month, making it the Board of Selectmen's meeting date. So if we don't have anything on the agenda, obviously I'll cancel it. But if we do end up having something, I would like to do it. And Paul, I know you had already told me you wouldn't be available on Thursday, the 9th. And I think Judy, you also said you wouldn't be there. So we would have 3 members, a quorum, but that is tentatively the plan right now. What I would do is just file a special agenda signifying that we'll have a special meeting for that date because it is not regularly scheduled on our yearly calendar. Other than that, just,
Whatever's scheduled, you probably let the applicant know there'll only be 3 members there.
yeah, if we do have something,
Yep.
the only one that has approached me that might have something for that agenda, I have told that, I said just a heads up, we might either not meet that week or we will have a quorum on Thursday.
Okay.
So they are aware, if anyone else, sounds like they're gonna be on that agenda, I'll be sure to let them know too. Couple updates about just some projects. Lascana Homes, 329 Smith Farm Road. They began leasing and accepting applications for their units. That is the majority affordable development over there. They had several hundred applications come in.
For how many units?
46.
Oh,
I mean, I'm talking, the last I spoke with them, just under 300 applications. So they, they are receiving, a lot of feedback there. ABF Trucking, which is on Carlson Road, we approved a site plan a little while ago for them. They have started, they posted bond, pulled building permits. The Montar Group, which is the self-storage on Salemi Lane, they are going through the State Traffic Authority right now, and are planning on pulling building permits in the next couple of months. So we should see that start to go as well. In the same boat is actually Bulldog Swim School, which I think I updated everyone on a couple months ago. We didn't hear from them for a while, then decided they came back.
Like a year, right?
It was a while ago. Yeah, it was about a
that's
year.
at the Christmas tree.
Christmas tree shops, yep. They're using a portion of the AC Moore building. They are getting their state approvals as well. I guess because it's an indoor pool, there are some things you have to do through the state. So they're waiting on that, then we'll be pulling building permits soon. I think I mentioned the Grind last meeting, but now that we have a full board, I'll mention it again. The Grind, which is a baseball training facility that was behind Taco Bell, is moving to the old Ocean State Job Lot building. They're gonna be taking a good portion of that building and using it for that, and the front portion of the building is actually gonna be pickleball courts. So they're gonna have 2 different entities there, but, you're gonna have baseball and pickleball there.
Nice.
So we can expect that hopefully in the near future.
Good.
The apartment progress seemed to stop.
At
Firelight.
Firelight, so Firelight had an issue that has been resolved in the last couple of weeks. where there was an issue with the state right-of-way. From talking with Chief Gagné, the issue, and Jamie Vincent, the fire marshal, the corner of where the liquor store is, and you have currently that entrance that people like to use to cut through from Racebrook to Old Tavern.
Right.
That is being closed. That was on our approved plan.
Yeah.
There was some sliver of that portion that lied in the state right-of-way. And there was some rental agreement or lease agreement that the developer had to come to with the state. So there was a holdup for that. I'm not exactly sure why it was so long, but there was some sort of negotiation that had to happen. In the last couple of weeks, they did get that done, that I was told, so they should be hitting
So
the
that,
ground running again.
it will still be closed, that particular
Yeah,
part of it?
to my knowledge, nothing about our approved site plan was changed. There was no revision or anything by the OSTA. So, and if there is, then they should come back to me
Yeah, it would
and
be-
obviously resubmit.
We'd get a look at it.
Right, of course. So that was my understanding of that. And I went over that. I would say that is about it. If anyone has anything for me, again, all ears.
Yep, okay. All right, sounds good, Jack, thank you.
Of course.
All right, then, we have one public hearing matter on our agenda this evening. Paul, do you want to start us off by reading the legal notice?
To appear one time on Wednesday, September 20th, 2023, and one time on Wednesday, September 27th, 2023, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following: petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by 79 BPR Orange LLC to amend Article 6 of the Orange zoning regulations to allow for car washes in the commercial C2 district. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 19th day of September 2023.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, is the applicant present? Yeah, please, thank you.
I'm not sure my presentation is going to be befitting of this podium, but I'll do what I can. Good evening, everybody. My name is Attorney Timothy Lee. I represent the applicant, who is 79 BPR Orange LLC. The principal is Adam Sheps, who's with me tonight in the audience. Adam owns the property, or 79 BPR owns the property at 79 Boston Post Road. It is the site of the Sponge Brothers Car Wash. Adam has operated the car wash since about 2009, but there's been a car wash at that location since the late 1980s. In 1998, this Planning and Zoning Commission, well, when the car wash was initially approved in the 1980s, car washes were a permitted use in the town of Orange. In 1998, the Planning and Zoning Commission amended the zoning regulations to prohibit car washes. However, the site at 79 Boston Post Road was a pre-existing non-conforming use, and it's been allowed to exist at that location since that time. Adam is seeking to make improvements to the car wash. Namely, he's going to eliminate the building that's there that does the lubes and the oil change, and he wants to add 12 vacuum cleaners to the existing car wash. And the reason it's doing that is it just wants to update the car wash to reflect the car wash business and how it operates in 2023. The car wash business is more automated now than it used to be, and customers have come to expect automated machines and also self-service vacuum machines. We approached the town with this concept a couple months ago, and we discovered that the car washes were not allowed in this district. So in order to make the improvements that Adam seeks to make to the property, we were faced with two alternatives. One, to go to the ZBA and request a variance, or two, come to the Planning and Zoning Commission and seek a modification of the zoning regulations. So we chose that course as the more appropriate path and submitted the application that's before you tonight. Pursuant to the application itself, as referenced in the note, we're seeking to amend the section of the regulations 383-49 entitled Permitted Uses, and to add subsection T, which would allow car washes, including automobile detailing and outside self-service vacuums, subject to the following conditions. 1, the car wash must have been in existence on June 17th, 1998. The property must have a minimum lot size of at least 1/2 acre, and the property must have frontage on a state road. And we are asking the commission to adopt that regulation tonight. If the commission sees fit to amend the regulations and adopt these changes, ultimately, we would submit an application to the town to amend our site plan to show the elimination of the building where they do the lube jobs and the oil changes, and to show the setup on his property with the vacuum cleaners.
Hey, Tim, what
Yes.
was the thinking as between this board and the ZBA? Why were we the winner?
Because initially, this board was the group in 1998 that amended the regulations with regard to car washes. And the second reason was, we weren't sure we could establish a hardship with the ZBA. So in order to get a variance, as you all know, we would have to establish a legal hardship. I think we have a valid business purpose for doing what we're doing, but it may not meet the standard of a legal hardship that the ZBA requires.
Thank you.
Well, what, you'd be asking for a variance, a use variance?
Well,
I mean, that doesn't really exist.
correct, and that was the problem. That's kind of how, with Jack's assistance, that's kind of how we ended up before the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Tim, why wouldn't you just rely on your legal non-conforming use?
So that was a third alternative, was basically to say that we have a pre-existing non-conforming use, which we do. And then the question is, are we expanding our non-conforming use by eliminating the oil change and adding the vacuum cleaners, which were not there? So in discussions with the town, they had considered that to be an expansion of the non-conforming use. And we,
I mean, the service center was actually the part of this business that was conforming. That is allowed in the C2 zone. But if you're looking to expand on the car wash side of things and amenities that you would have in a normal car wash, that is an expansion of a non-conforming.
Well, that's, the motor vehicle service stations is prohibited.
In the C2 zone, I don't believe so.
Subsection A.
Difference between it and C1, no?
Let's see.
Well, I'm looking
Even
at,
if that is the case, I mean, the car washes are not permitted.
Would you think that do vacuum, I mean, because what we're talking about is expansion of the vacuum portion, right?
expansion of the car wash portion to include the vacuums.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are not
But the
vacuums there
elim-
today.
but the elimination of the motor vehicle
Well-
service,
Right, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, that's all.
So my point is that our vacuums, car vacuums, I don't think that's, I mean, it doesn't, I'm looking at the car wash, it's a little different than.
With the way I interpreted it is vacuums and detailing are services that you would have at a car wash.
That's true.
And they do not exist there today. So you would be expanding. I'm sorry, detailing does. But
Right.
at the level of a car wash and with vacuums and removing a portion of the building to add that, it's my interpretation that that would definitely be an expansion of the use. It wouldn't be an intensification.
And if they came in, I'm just hypothetical right now, if they came in with just a place that just did vacuuming of cars,
I think, well, motor vehicle service centers are not prohibited, or I'm sorry, are prohibited in this,
They are,
in this
okay.
zone. So I think if you're just talking vacuums, I mean, that's a pretty specific use that we would have to find a definition here of.
right, which I don't know if we would.
Which I don't know if we would either. And after reading some examples of intensification versus expansion, I definitely erred on the side of this is an expansion of a currently non-conforming use. That would require a text change or a variance to go through. If they were replacing the car wash that they had right now
Right.
with a hyper-efficient new car wash that can do 100 more cars
We
in an
wouldn't be
hour,
talking about
we
this.
wouldn't be here.
Right.
That's an intensification, but this is an expansion of that
Hmm.
use, you know, and that would require a text change.
Does anybody have any idea why
No.
car washes were prohibited back in, what, 1998?
Yeah, June of 1998.
Judy?
Yeah, I think I was there, but I can't remember. I
When
mean,
did I-
maybe we didn't want a proliferation of them, and we just, proliferation of them all up and down Route. That's the only thing I can think, I think Michael was
Well,
here
so
then.
there was no environmental issue?
Maybe there was, maybe that was the thinking, I don't know.
That maybe is,
Maybe they foresaw the one that's getting put in Milford down past,
Milford Bank area?
yeah, and you just, it's like enormous and right in your face.
Right.
Because I was thinking, well, maybe just make it instead of all of this stuff which sort of locks us into this one thing, just make it a special permit use, but then, now we,
You,
Yeah.
and
Right,
you-
right.
and you will be getting a lot of applicants. One of the, car washes are one of the biggest or one of the most frequent calls I get all the time is where can we put car washes? How big can they be? And I have to kind of cut everyone off at the,
Right.
you know, because we don't allow them.
So, my instinct is that this, even, I'm presupposing what, in 98, what they were thinking, but regardless, they thought the car wash itself shouldn't be there, okay?
shouldn't be a permitted use.
It shouldn't be a permitted use
In
in
that
the C.
zone.
Right, in the zone,
In fact, well,
Yeah.
in fact, it's a prohibited
Limited
use.
use in the zone.
right, okay? But at the same time, he's not expanding the use that would necessarily be prohibited, right? They didn't foresee the vacuuming at that time, it wasn't part of the vocabulary of a car wash. I do see it as an expansion of the car wash itself, but not necessarily when you drill down.
Yeah,
To my way of thinking, it's something that I don't necessarily want to deny him of if it's, because he's not expanding the use that was prohibited, is my point.
I think,
I
again, in my interpretation,
Yeah.
I think he is. I understand it's not another car wash booth, but
Right.
it is adding amenities and services that are typical with a car wash.
think
That is,
true.
that's my interpretation of it,
Right.
and let's say in the future, he would wanna put another car wash there. If it's permitted use, he would be allowed to expand that operation and not just do vacuums.
within the bulk area right
Of course, yeah, of course, within our site plan regs.
Right, of course.
which are supposedly written to not overwhelm a particular site. So,
Do we have any idea of how the property currently exists in terms of the bulk regulations?
You know, we haven't really gotten that far. If, this is really the first step before we would really look at a site plan design. Unless anyone could enlighten us on a conceptual design, maybe that would help.
Sure. As you mentioned, we're here tonight just basically for the text change, and we would anticipate if
Yeah,
it gets
yeah.
approved coming back, but I do have a conceptual plan, I believe. Which I only have one copy, so.
We can pass it or take turns to pass
can
it
we,
around.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, yeah, you can't even really do. Does it change the footprint of the building?
Well, the building where they, it's not gonna change the footprint of the building where they do the.
Car washes.
Car washing, correct. The other building would be eliminated.
The other building is, yeah, is being demolished,
yeah.
the other,
Less coverage.
so the building is basically gonna be replaced by open-air booths where you
Right.
vacuum, with
That-
separating.
So
that
reducing
strikes
the
me as
bulk
being less
coverage.
intensive.
I think
Right.
so.
Which is the direction you have to move when you're dealing with nonconformities.
Right.
But
You
You
have to
can't-
come
you
to
just
the
have to come to the
podium,
podium and
state
introduce
a
yourself.
name and address for the record.
My name is Adam Sheps, and I'm going to use 79 Boston Post Road as my address of record, if that's okay.
Could you spell your last name, please?
It's SCHEPS,
Thank you.
of course. You're welcome. So we are currently vacuuming, okay? It always was. We, employees, were vacuuming not as a self-serve. So vacuuming has always been there along with detailing. It's just now the model has changed where it's, people would prefer to do their own vacuuming versus us doing the vacuuming. So there is ongoing vacuuming going on. It's not, it's,
Not a new part of your product.
And-
That's right.
And Adam, that was before the 98, that was.
Oh,
as
that
part of
was-
your
Since the
inception.
beginning.
exactly, yes, yep, right. And that's what they'll call a full-service model
Right.
versus an express exterior, which is what you see up and down today. So,
But they're getting rid of what is now a prohibited use. In
With,
that.
with the service station, but they are
Yeah.
still expanding the car wash. I am,
Not
I am,
yet.
I am confident in that.
Yeah.
If we want to bring in, obviously, the town attorney, but after reading some case studies about, or case law about it, I am confident that this would be seen as an expansion of the currently non-conforming car wash use. Yes, we are moving in the right direction on the service station, but, and they replace that with amenities found at a car wash.
Let me ask you this, why the conditions?
Well, so the condition, well, the three
Yes.
standards.
Yeah,
So what we tried to do in enacting the three standards was to respect the commission's action that they took in 1998 to prohibit car washes. So we wanted to make sure that this regulation would only apply to car washes which existed prior to 1998. So that would be your pre-existing non-conforming use car washes. And then
Your due diligence comes out to be how many car washes in Orange?
I think there's one. And then in terms of
Yeah,
the other standards, we wanted to make sure that if the commission ultimately decided they want car washes everywhere throughout town, that it would be limited to, major roads through town or properties of a certain size. So that's kind of how we came up with those standards.
but you're in conformity with the bulk standards in the C2 zone anyway, right?
Well, yeah, actually, yes, we are.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be able to bring in a site plan.
Oh, yeah, we would anticipate
And
coming back
demonstrate
with
that.
this, with the site plan, and the existing building for the car wash would remain the same, and then we'd show where the vacuums are gonna be located.
my opinion is there's logical, practical components of zoning, and then there's the law. So Jack is following the law, crossing the Ts, dotting the Is, that's correct. My opinion is we should allow your project to go forth because it makes sense to allow vacuums at a car wash that are already there, just more, and taking away
It's just a question of who's using the vacuum, it's not, the vacuum's already.
Right, so my only concern, so you see, my train of thought is to, how do we get there, exactly? Are we gonna have an issue with spot zoning if we put condition 1 on there? Knowing what we know, that there was only one in town, or is that not gonna be an issue?
I don't
Why
know
is that any
it's-
different than,
We've done it quite a bit in the last few
Yeah.
years,
Okay.
where we
You put a date
we
on it.
enact language that only will apply to one parcel in town.
well, but it's,
Yeah, but we're, I'm not sure it's spot zoning, but I thought about the same.
Okay, that's all I wanna be sure
To
that it
me, that
isn't.
looks like, if the applicant's asking us to amend the zoning regulations to allow car washes, and we should think that's such a great idea that we ought to do that and open it up to anybody who wants to do it in the town of Orange. But in fact, they've set it up in such a way that it basically eliminates any competition that they might have.
which doesn't exist
Today.
today.
Right.
Well,
And I would not
Right.
want the town full
Well,
of
I
car
know.
washes personally.
Right.
So I'm glad that they are prohibited.
And that's why, I mean, I don't love the idea, but I do think, we can approve it as a non-conforming. I don't see
You
the
don't see the
need.
expansion?
Well, not really.
Okay.
I don't.
I would err on the side of caution there. I don't think there would be a reason to deny the language in front of us if that's how the commission would feel. Why not err on the side of safety, approve the language that is restrictive enough where it does not allow car washes to go onto other parcels on our commercial corridor, because they're not currently there. I don't see the problem with accepting this as opposed to taking the risk of not accepting, and then someone seeing this as an expansion.
So do we go
and
to,
having an issue.
do we need to go to Vinnie and say, listen, can you defend this if ever challenged?
Again, I don't see the point. I think if we feel as though this isn't even an expansion, then why not allow for this language to be put in?
Do we, well, then I'll take it one step back, because I do see it as an intensification of a pre-existing use, based on his testimony that they were vacuuming before, we're increasing the vacuums. Do we have to do any of this?
Again, I would say we do, yes.
What do
I
you mean, do
think
we have to
that-
do any of it?
I mean, do
Well-
they need the zone change?
Right,
They-
in other
Can they
words,
just come in with a site plan?
so the issue is, if Jack sees it as what do you call it, an
Expansion.
expansion of a non-conforming use, which is prohibited, okay? But there's also an argument to be made that it's just an intensification of a pre-existing, allowable, a pre-existing non-conforming use, meaning the vacuuming was being done there before 1998. So we're intensifying that use, that pre-existing non-conforming use, not
The
expanding it.
vacuuming was always done.
But
Yes.
if you don't mind me asking, how many, do you have vacuums set up, or is that just a service in the service station? They bring a shop vac and vacuum your car?
We have a central vac
Could you step in
Yeah.
the,
I'm sorry.
And-
thank you.
And how many vacuums?
Stations, we probably have 5 vacuum stations that our employees, with a long hose, as the cars pull up in line, we can vacuum at the
And
same
how
time.
many, rough idea, how many would you be
12.
proposing? 12?
12.
That right there is an expansion. You have 5 on the,
Right.
on the property, but I would treat it just like you do the car wash tunnel. You have 1, if you add 2, that's an expansion. It's the same concept, even though I get it, it's just vacuums.
Well, no, that was my first thought, but now I'm asking about a different situation. Since there was vacuums before, what would you consider to be an intensification which would be allowable?
You have a supercharged vacuum that can vacuum 10 cars an hour instead of 5.
How about if they expanded their hours of operation?
That I wouldn't see as an expansion, because as long as they are allowable hours, you're not working outside of business hours, then that would be fine. You're not intensifying the use there. You're just allowing the use to run a
So the
couple
same,
hours longer a
back
day.
to
But if
my.
they wanted
go
to
ahead.
wash cars in the evening, they couldn't do that?
No, as long as it's during normal business hours. Whatever their posted hours are,
No, could they expand the hours?
Like, say they were 9
Yes.
to 5 and they wanted to go like
9.
9 to 8 PM.
based on my knowledge, I would say yes, because you're not intensifying a use, you're just allowing that use to be
Intensified.
used
Expanded.
longer in the
Expanded.
day.
Expanded.
I wouldn't, it's
No,
not,
it's
it's not a
interesting.
physical expansion. That's what we're
Right,
looking at.
So
here, is
that-
a physical
that's-
If there
expansion.
were 5, I forgot your first name, I'm sorry.
Adam.
If Adam wanted to take the 5 and now make it self-serve rather than his employees doing it, that you would be okay with?
If there are 5 stations there right now, and he wouldn't be upping that number, then yeah, I
I'm
guess
just
I would.
trying to- and I'm
Yeah,
just
I
trying to
would
figure
err
out
on the
what
side
you-
of intensification, but
Right.
again, I think, I am still associating these vacuums, now that they are gonna be self-service,
As an expansion.
an amenity that car washes offer.
Mm-hmm.
Your other, what other business is going to typically offer you that, other than maybe a gas station?
Yeah.
We'll have 1 or 2 there. I think this is a clear expansion to me. But again, it's open to interpretation.
I understand the expansion rationale, but it just seems to me that if you're abandoning a non-prohibited use, the motor vehicle service, and replacing it with vacuums, which are less,
Yeah, overall, the project is less.
Yeah,
Well,
but still, the point
from a
remains how to get there.
practical
Less
standpoint-
non-
I would make the
Right.
argument that you're taking away a non-conforming use and expanding the other, which is the same thing.
Which the law is fine with taking away the non-conforming
You
use.
have to move in
Right.
to become more
Right.
conforming, not less.
Right.
And again, in my opinion, after reading up on it too, again, I think it's pretty clear that this would be an expansion. And if the commission doesn't have an issue with the intensity of the work that they're doing, vacuums. If you guys don't see an issue with allowing those, why not just approve the language that already specifies where and what you can do for car washes and go from there? Why take the risk of denying
Because-
this and just saying it's an intensification?
Because I don't know why the regulation was adopted to begin with.
I remember asking Paul Denise this question a while ago, and I think it was more aesthetics than anything. I do not want to say I've read the minutes and
Well,
know
just-
exactly what
I
it
know, but
is.
just calling it.
But I think
Do that.
aesthetically, car washes were not as, pleasing to the eye as maybe they are today.
Or other businesses maybe.
That was my
That they
information
wanted
that I
to
was
see
able to
too.
get from Paul. But again, I didn't read the minutes. I'm not,
Right.
trying to say I was at that meeting, so.
Yeah, I'm hesitant, and I realize that with the addition of that condition, that wouldn't happen. But to me, again, I mean, if the applicant weren't here, we wouldn't be considering changing the regulations to allow for car wash. It's not something on our radar, not something we would do.
Well,
So I'm
like,
look- what I'm
like
saying
most
is-
of our zoning changes.
Right.
Well, but I'm sort of saying, to me, I see a preference for leaving a preference for leaving the regulations the way they are, unless they have a very good reason to change them.
But what's the functional difference between this text amendment and the text amendment that allowed the travel, whatever the
Well,
heck it was
None,
supposed
Travel
to
center.
be?
yeah, I
That,
guess.
that was only a specified distance from a specified type of
There was only one-
interchange.
there was only
And
one
and
section
by,
that
when
we
you
did,
did
yeah.
all of your, your little crossings and.
We did the same
Wow.
thing with
I-
80 Boston Post
and
Road,
I'm-
with the light industrial uses in the commercial zone.
I think I may have expressed the opinion that I'm sort of hesitant to continue to do things that way.
Oh, no, and I,
You know what
I
mean?
also
mean,
don't
the
like
regulations
that
are the
feel.
regulations,
Yeah,
and if there's a very good reason to change them, I'm all ears, and, I'm all ears here, of course, too, but, all I'm saying is, an argument could be made is that, we're essentially doing, you're doing this and you're giving this applicant the opportunity to eliminate competition. Well, I guess he's already got that sort of.
Yeah.
He's already got
You
that.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
you're not-
I understand where
Yes.
you're going with it, but
Here's the
it's
other
competition that's non-existent because there's no law that allows it.
But also,
It's not
it
his-
doesn't, not to say another company couldn't come in and ask us to amend the regs to allow them.
Or if we decide we want to allow them everywhere, we could just say, you know what, let's make it a permitted use, no restrictions.
Right.
We could always do that on our
Yeah.
initiative.
now, again, slipping from the legislative, let's slip back to the practical, okay. If we got the site plan without this meeting having happened, and looked at this non-conforming use, and saw the building footprint, looked at it as a total non-conformance,
It
okay,
would be
that
a
had
re-
two components to it, but it was a total thing.
Yep.
On a lot,
Non-conforming use.
right.
It would be a reduction, you're going in, go ahead.
Right,
Sorry. Yep.
so it had two separate components that were both non-conforming, but it was a single entity and thing on a single property.
Right.
And when the smoke cleared from where it is today to the end of this new site plan we were looking at without all this happening, there was less building,
Yep.
less footprint, and
Less than-
less activity.
Well, there's also no motor vehicle service.
That's what I'm
station.
saying.
Yeah,
But
they
I'm
take
Which is,
saying,
which is
if
also.
you,
a
if you didn't
prohibited
break
use.
it into its
A
separate.
reduction in the nonconformity is where you're going.
Yes,
Overall.
I'm saying that, yeah.
Overall, so that's
Yeah.
the theme you're gonna take.
I mean, we're not talking about a non,
I want to get to that.
Right, so,
I want to
so,
get him his back.
I feel, I feel
wanna clean my
exactly, feel exactly the same way.
right, so let's say that this meeting didn't happen and that came to us and we analyzed it that way.
That's a good point.
How would, a problem arise with what the heck we thought?
I see what you're saying, but I
You
don't,
need a
I don't think
third-party
that's.
intervener?
Who would object?
Right, but I
Can we
agree.
just talk one at a time,
Sorry.
please?
But I don't think the way to look at it is, well, who would come out of the woodwork and give us a hard time about it? There is always someone around the corner who might decide they want to do that. I think what we have to look at, and even if there is a reduction in footprint, that does not automatically mean a use is not being expanded. You could reduce that service station down to nothing, or let's say you cut the building in half. The half that remains is used for another car wash tunnel. The footprint is still less, but that use has still been expanded. So it's not just about it, the footprint reduction, I'm certainly not trying to give anyone a harder time than they need to have, but I am looking at this as an expansion in association with the car wash, even with the reduction of the nonconformity of the service station. I'm looking at them as two different entities. One is moving in the right direction and the other wants to expand.
But they have one CO, right?
Right.
They have one business license, they have one piece of property.
But
They're
two
just,
uses.
there are two, so if a company came into town and they had axe throwing and swimming in it, you'd give them two separate uses?
I would say those are two separate uses, yes. Just like the baseball and pickleball
Well, you
I
would-
brought
you
up
would
before. Those are
measure-
two different, they're on the same, in the same building, but it's two different entities running those.
But two different entities. What if it was the same entity running those two things?
I think it's not the entity that's important, it's the use.
Okay, so then that's, that's what I'm trying to
So
say.
what you're trying to say, we don't have the application to amend. They come in with just the site plan. They show reduction in footprint, reduction in services performed. And then on the site plan, there's 12 vacuums. What
They're
are we
basically,
gonna walk away with? What's gonna be our conclusion?
they're using the property in the same way. It's
Are
a
they
car wash.
reducing the
It's a car wash.
non-conforming?
Yeah, well, they're not expanding it, I mean, it's not, they're not compelled to reduce it, they're not allowed to expand it.
But by taking
And I say,
away,
I would look at that and say, you know what, it's still a car wash. And they put some vacuum, the vacuuming of the cars is being done a little differently. It's not their employees that are doing the vacuuming, it's, the drivers are doing the vacuuming themselves. But it's still a car wash.
Now, to Jack's point, would we have the same opinion if they put in a second tunnel?
No, I would say that is expanding the non-conforming use.
Okay,
Because now you had 50% capacity, you doubled the
Right.
capacity.
okay, so
of
I'm gonna
the-
agree with that. And is the difference that the vacuuming is an ancillary service
Right.
to the car wash, which is the prohibitive activity?
Right, because Jack's done the research, and he's got other cases and other situations where they are considered to be an expansion of the one, what a car wash is. Car wash is not just washing the cars, it's vacuuming, and that's an expansion. I get
A
it.
specific, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I don't know if you take what used to be the florist shop at the corner of Orange Center and Derby Avenue, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you
yep,
know,
yep.
We for months and months, maybe years, had nothing go in there because we couldn't, if we
was a
said
mess, yeah.
strictly a flower shop and nothing else,
Yeah.
that'd still be empty.
Mhm.
So somebody came in with the idea of a gift shop, and we're selling seasonal flowers, and and that was sufficient to say, to allow them to continue the non-conforming use. Non-conforming use was a little different, but the use of the property generally wasn't any more, the new use wasn't any more intensive than the previous use.
So-
And basically very similar enough.
Are there other sites on Route 1, say a gas station, that allows a person to drive in and vacuum their car?
I could, yeah, there's
Okay, so
several.
so that's already happening, right?
That's in the C1.
Well, gas stations, while it might not say gas stations can have a vacuum, I would consider that, but they're permittable too. It's not a non-conforming use that they're expanding on. This is again, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, in my opinion, a clear expansion. If we disagree and we wanna say it's an intensification and they don't need this, that's totally fine. I'm just saying for the idea of, protecting in case there is someone out there who disagrees and will, come out of the woodwork to say that. I just don't really see the reason, if everyone's so comfortable with the vacuums, to shoot it down.
So first thing, number one, it is your job to be careful and thorough. You've also been thinking about this. Huh? You've also been thinking about this longer than we have, so we're
We're
catching up.
catching up.
Okay,
Understood.
so take it as us catching up.
Totally understood, and even if
Okay.
you guys all disagree with me, that is totally fine. I just
Okay.
wanna protect everyone in the room the best I
Yeah,
can.
great, okay.
Certainly don't wanna make anyone's life harder.
Yeah. So the question is how to get thar from hyar.
We have three options, right? We can pass the proposed text, which would basically, according to Jack, protect us from any future, I guess, somebody coming in and saying that that this is not that was an expansion of the prohibited use. Yeah, the existing nonconformity. We can consider it to be an intensification of an existing nonconforming pre-existing use, meaning the vacuuming. Or we can just not consider anything and just say it's part of it's a reduction in the nonconformity on a larger scale. And it's-
Go back to your item number one.
Mhm.
That objection would come when they bring their site plan in.
That's possible.
And if somebody doesn't say something then, and if the decision goes against them in favor of the applicant, they have an appeal period. So,
Keep in mind that site plan would not have to come in front of the commission. It could, a site plan can be sent to the commission, but it is not, it's not a special permit. You know, if they're just planning on doing a standard site plan application, it would be an administrative review, unless the commission decided they wanted to
we
look at
have
it.
that discretion.
And I have no problem, obviously, putting it to the commission, but keep in mind, it's not a required public hearing,
But you get my point is somebody will have an opportunity.
not if there's not a public hearing.
Well, at
Our
a public
agenda's
meeting-
published.
Our agenda is published, but a site plan does not require, I mean, yes, we could put it to a public hearing if we decided to.
No,
But
all I'm
But we
saying,
always allow public input, even at site plan reviews.
Yeah.
I know it's not legislated,
But the
we
site,
do it,
the site plan review, what Jack is saying, I think, is that the site plan review would not necessarily come.
but we would make our, we
It-
let
have
him know we
discretion,
want
okay.
it.
if we said, you know, we want to look at this collectively as a board, we absolutely could. It doesn't
Right.
have to be done
Yeah,
administratively.
but you could, if you made the text amendment and it became a special permit use
Right.
with the same text, then it would come to you.
as would every other,
The other
Application.
car wash,
Application.
yep.
Every other special permit use for,
A car wash.
for a car
Right.
wash, which apparently there would be.
right, but
several.
I'm saying with the same, with
The
these
three
same.
conditions would pretty
The
much,
same text.
The restrictions would still be in place. We would just get a special, a chance to look with a public hearing at the special permit application that the applicant would bring in.
And
Yeah,
then-
so we'd get to look at things like traffic and safety and, you know.
Absolutely.
Right.
Boy, I'm glad I'm not the chairman tonight. What do you want to do, Chief?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice to get a chance to study it a little bit more, but I know that, that the interpretation of non-conforming, it's not black and white. And we're arguing about the gray area here.
Intensification or expansion
And I think-
is an ever-going conversation
Right,
in the zoning law.
and so I think we'd have.
What about that travel, place on,
Racebrook.
Racebrook? Yeah.
Yeah,
Travel land, yeah.
I don't remember what the issue was there.
well, it was a real estate,
I remember.
it was a real estate office.
Right.
It was,
William Orange, yeah, and then.
There was a law firm in there, there was,
It
and
was
I
a Coldwell
think,
Banker at some point.
I think way back in the day, it was a florist shop as well. And so the travel agent came in and said, they could do a travel agency there, and
So you had to look at it as, okay, these were professional uses in a residential zone.
it apparently wasn't as attractive any longer as a real estate office, because
Right.
it was sitting empty for
Wow.
a long time. And we have, some interest in not having these properties be idle
Well, I
for
can-
extensive periods of time.
But we also have an interest in ongoing businesses with a long history in the town being able to operate and upgrade to
Right.
meet current requirements.
I don't
Be
think, I mean,
valuable.
I can feel, at least how I feel about it is exactly where you're going, which is, I don't want to choke his business off. We gave him the ability to operate in pre-1998. I feel like at this point, the business that he operates has changed. He already testified that there was vacuuming there prior. I see this as an intensification of that, albeit that on the legal side, I know there's arguments to the contrary, and I think that's how I feel about what's going on here. I don't feel the need to do the proposed text amendment, although I would definitely support it if the commission was not going to get him his vacuums, and this was the only way forward to get the vacuums.
I'm sorry, Jack, did you happen to run it by?
Vinnie?
I didn't,
Attorney
no.
Marino?
No, I haven't seen him.
Because you're reading, case law, which is. always-
Absolutely, yeah, no,
Which is good.
this is one of the
Well, I think,
intensification.
our regulations are very detailed as well. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
It's not a two-liner, you know what I mean? It explains pretty carefully what our obligations are with respect to non-conforming uses and trying over time to bring them into conformity. I mean, there's some value.
And I could argue on this one, exactly what Kevin was saying before, which is this is a reduction of that intensity by virtue of eliminating the, I forget what you call it, the service part of it.
The
And they do a fair amount of that
motor
there.
vehicle service stations, motor vehicle repair garages, including automobile, truck, trailer, et cetera.
I mean, do we have the discretion to look at a site plan and say, overall, with the two proposals of getting rid of the service station and adding 12 vacuums, that whole product reduces the nonconformity, in our opinion?
Or it doesn't, I don't know if you have to say it reduces it, or just say it doesn't expand it.
Yeah, that's the.
I think that's
legal
probably the right standard.
I just want to read one thing from our non-conforming regs here for enlargement. No non-conforming use of land shall be enlarged, extended, or altered, and no building or other structure or part thereof devoted to a non-conforming use shall be enlarged, extended, reconstructed, or structurally altered, except where the result of such changes is to reduce and eliminate the nonconformity.
Oh, so that's the first.
The first half, yeah, but like, again, I'm seeing this as,
We know what you're reading.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think we
okay.
know what you're saying.
I think, in my opinion, that's clear.
Well,
It was until the
because-
last part.
Until, yeah.
Because we're considering those
There's
not,
two,
they're not, are they subsets of the same non-conforming use, or are they two non-conforming uses?
the latter.
Okay.
There are two separate uses going on. One's motor
Okay.
vehicle
Well,
service station.
then you have to, then it is,
Then one's going the right way, one's going the wrong way.
right. Okay,
Well,
so
how-
you can't look at the
The
totality.
car wash is being extended while the motor vehicle station is,
The car wash is not being extended.
Well,
if we're
he's
treating them as
putting
two different uses, they
the
are.
vacuuming is part of car wash in Jack's mind.
Maybe extended a little bit less than the automotive use. I mean,
Right.
on the scale of things. we're-
Right, yeah, I still think we're overall moving in the right direction, to be perfectly clear, but.
Well, that's,
But on,
That's
you're
the gist.
taking more nonconformity away with the service station than you are adding to the
Adding.
nonconformity of the car
That's
wash.
it.
Right.
Can we net it out?
But you are still adding to the nonconformity of the car wash. They don't net, one to the other. If we're treating them as two
no,
separate
the-
uses.
The way I would read that, I would be adding to the nonconformity if I built another aisle for another car wash aisle. To me, that would be black and white. That would be an expansion of a conforming use, and I would,
Are you,
Wait,
can I make a motion?
wait.
Oh, go ahead, I'm ready.
It's getting it.
well, this is a public hearing, so we need
Yeah.
comment from
Yeah.
the public if
Yes.
there
I
is.
also have one letter to read in.
Okay, so Wait,
And we need to know the applicant. Do we have any questions of the applicant?
wait. Why isn't the vacuuming a motor vehicle, a reduction in the motor vehicle service?
Fair point.
So it's not part of the car wash. It's part of,
vehicle?
it's the motor vehicle service,
And we're reducing that too.
and you're reducing it.
But then we're gonna be extending it. If they're gonna be asking for an additional 8, or whatever the number was, then we're extending that too.
Because it went from three.
I didn't have any luck with him this summer either. When I
It went from 3 service bays to 5 to 12 vacuums?
Again,
No, this
you-
is,
please,
this
no,
is
no,
actually
you could
interesting.
absolutely look at it that way. I completely understand the flip side of the coin here.
Do you sell those
Absolutely.
do you sell those car fresheners?
Air fresheners, yes.
Is that-
Okay.
Is that something new?
No. No, we've always had a lobby for customers to
Yep.
sit.
No, but that's my point. I mean, there's things going on that you might look at and say, wait a minute, that's an expansion. And we, didn't have candy.
Absolutely.
We didn't, sell candy here before. Now we do.
All right, public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Yeah,
What could you add? to
No,
that?
I mean, it really is an interesting argument, and we kind of debated it over the course of the summer
Right, yep.
with Jack too, and ultimately ended up with this approach, but it is an interesting argument. It's interesting to hear you guys talk about it.
You have, I take it, you don't feel strongly one way or the other as long as you can undertake your project.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to get the vacuum cleaners there. Jack had convinced me that this was the path of least resistance, which I believed him up until about a half hour ago. But that,
We're all saying good stuff. We're all on board.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
We appreciate that.
thank
All
you.
right. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this application in the audience? I see, I'm looking at you because there's one person in the audience.
No, I have nothing to add to
Okay.
I do have one letter to, if you want me to
You have
read the
nothing
name,
to
I
add
can.
to this mess.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Sure. So, directed to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Town of Orange. Dear Chairman Parenti and members of the commission, I'm writing this letter in support of the application to amend the Orange zoning regulations. I'm the owner of the property at 236 Boston Post Road in Orange, Connecticut. The property is in close proximity to the Sponge Brothers Car Wash located at 79 Boston Post Road. The Sponge Brothers Car Wash has been a good neighbor and provides a necessary service for the residents of the town of Orange. I support this text because it will allow an existing business to modernize its business operations in order to continue to serve the Orange community. There are no adverse impacts for the proposed amendment. Nick Mastrangelo.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we need anything, I mean, do we have any input from department heads?
No, because this is still the legislative phase. You know, when they
Site
would come
plan.
in for the site plan, they would give their input.
Well, it just occurs to me, though, that it might not be a bad idea to hear from maybe the town sanitarian, because again, I'm trying to understand why those regulations.
They would be, there's
Why the
states,
If you're
use was
gonna keep the
prohibited.
public hearing open, I would ask Jack to go back and get the minutes from that year to see what was the thought process.
hopefully I can find
Yeah.
those, yeah.
I mean,
Easier said than done.
and again, my sense is that this may have become a prohibited, I'm not sure, but it may have become a prohibited use because of an environmental concern.
Correct me if I'm
Well,
wrong,
when did
maybe
they
one
put
of,
this, when they put the sewer in?
it is connected to sewer, but maybe one of
No,
the
no,
applicant.
when did they build the
Oh,
sewer
oh.
on Route 1?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that it could be
But I
something
believe
as
a
simple
lot
as
of
that.
the environmental regulations come from the state for regarding car washes. If I'm correct, I'm not really the best one to comment on
Yeah,
that.
that-
So the state has a lot to do with it. However, all the chemicals today are non-corrosives and biodegradable. So they're not what people used to think of back in the day, that they're putting acid on wheels and use these, these nasty four-letter words. Everything today is biodegradable.
That may be why these uses were prohibited back in the day.
Either that or just aesthetically,
Aesthetic,
yeah.
Well,
Either way,
Yeah.
you know, it leaves us with the discussion that we've had, I think.
So.
But I would like to see the minutes, but it's got to be one of those two things.
And,
Right.
and if we're leaning towards, keeping the public hearing open, does it make sense to see if the town attorney agrees that?
For sure.
Because if he says, I think you can net this out, I mean,
Or if he comes back and he says, listen, I don't want a precedent that we've considered. Precedent.
we
that-
don't want, none of us wants a president.
No, it's bad, right.
Go ahead.
That he thinks that they should be taken together, meaning
Yeah. Totality
Yeah,
versus the
exactly.
two individual uses.
yeah. So
But-
I don't think it's a bad idea to talk to
I
them.
think, yeah, I mean, I think, for me anyway, the town attorney would have to say, look, this is clearly the expansion of a non-conforming use, and you guys should not approve it.
Right, because then that sends you down a very specific road.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very surprised if that's the advice he gives, because of just the gray area inherent in, this, but I don't see any problem with getting his, look at it.
Right, but if it's a defensible position, those two things can be looked at together as a reduction on the total site, and that's a defensible position, then we can skip the text and
Go to the
go to a
site
site plan.
But I could withdraw the application at that point in
Right.
time. if
Right,
that's the-
right, so-
correct.
Yeah, well, that's what, right, we would keep
So we
this
should-
open until, until our next hearing.
Do you have 2 weeks?
You can wait 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Sorry,
The
thanks.
17th of this month.
Or, or you could withdraw it right now and put it to a vote, you know what I mean? But,
No.
Oh, no, we don't have a site plan.
Right, they don't have a site.
well, we put this, well, if you withdraw, we wouldn't have to put it to a
Right.
vote, right?
No, I think it's prudent to go.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
maybe do some research in the archives.
But I would talk to the, I don't know, is it the town sanitarian that we would talk to? I mean,
Why would it be a sanitarian?
But they're
Could be
vacuuming.
sanitarian, or it could be the
No,
sewer
I'm,
commission
just,
too, but
again, I'm
if there's
trying to
no toxic
understand
chemicals
why.
involved,
Vacuum.
then.
I mean,
Please,
Okay.
Would,
thank you.
would you want 50 of them on Route 1?
Certainly not.
Okay, so maybe they didn't want that in 1998 either.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's the only reason why they didn't want it.
Yeah, but hang on.
And I'm getting a little more hawkish generally on changing our regulations. I'm just,
It seems like every month.
I mean, this is not something that we would have done on our own initiative. We're being,
99% of them are,
well, that's not,
Well,
right?
just a question.
Apartments.
This is a question someone smarter than me that lives in my house asked. Do you keep a list of non-conforming uses in the town?
No, it's not like we have a running list of who's left, who we have to
Sure.
weed out to get into conformity. No, we don't.
No,
we
I was
don't
just
have-
wondering.
No.
All right.
all right, then,
keep
so
the
that's
public
it. So
hearing.
see if we
Okay,
can get
so
some more
we'll-
information from Vinnie.
Talk with Vinnie about it.
Paul again.
See-
Yeah, sure, and maybe Paul can shed some light
Is
on the
there
situation.
anybody, any other municipal department head that might be helpful to us?
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. It's, there's no, we're talking about expanding, nothing to do with the car wash, well, present company excluded. But the vacuuming is nothing to do with the sewers or the sanitarian, no?
No.
No, I was thinking about the
Like wastewater, things like that.
wastewater.
But nothing's changing.
You're right, that's not changing at all,
As
right?
to why they were
Oh,
prohibited
you're
in
talking about
98.
back
Oh,
then?
back,
Okay.
We're
Back-
being asked to
back in the
change
day.
the regulations. And I'm trying to understand why the regulations were in place to begin with. That's all. All right, so then, let's, do that. We'll leave the public hearing, hearing open. We'll have it on our agenda for next time. And in the meantime, we'll get some advice from, our town attorney. Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then, that concludes our agenda.
Move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.